Hello, testing. All right. So once again, I didn't do that last time. Once again, I'd like to thank everybody and the church for having us here on this particular celebratory day. Yeah, exactly. Because the blessing of the animals today, and that means a lot to Hope for Wildlife, it really does, so thank you. Get on the first slide here. So, Hope for Wildlife is the largest wildlife rescue and rehabilitation facility in Atlantic Canada. We are a charitable organization, and we depend on our volunteers and the people in our communities to help us do what we do. We provide professional care to sick, injured, and orphaned wildlife so that ultimately it can be returned back to the environment from which it came. Wildlife rehabilitation offers animals their best second chance at survival, self-sufficiency, and freedom. Wildlife rehabilitation is a relatively new and dynamic discipline that acknowledges humans have a moral and ethical role to play as stewards of the environment and to help protect and care for all of the living creatures that dwell within it. Hope for Wildlife's mission is to reconnect people with wildlife in a positive way. We believe that by learning about the animals, their behaviors, their environment, and their plight, that people will naturally extend their understanding, their compassion, and their love to the wild neighbors that share this world. Hope for Wildlife has grown exponentially in the 24 years it's been in operation. We have almost 150 volunteers, several staff, but more are needed every day. As of 2020, we have successfully helped over 60,000 animals. On average, our wildlife helpline gets 20,000 calls a year. And in 2021, so far this year, we have reached over 6,000 animals already. We are proud of our accomplishments. And we're proud of the accomplishments of our volunteers, and we're proud of the accomplishments of the communities that support us. But this is just a drop in the bucket. In Canada, the number of birds hit by cars alone exceeds 2 million. So you can see that in all the myriad ways that we affect the world around us, that being stewards of the environment is not a task that can be completed. It is a permanent responsibility. The degradation, destruction, and elimination of wildlife habitats continues to put wildlife in contact with human development at a rapid pace. Our rescue volunteers are on the front lines, going into communities and into the wilderness to protect and to save the animals that are in need. Wildlife rescue requires special training in animal handling techniques and animal behavior in order to keep the animals and the rescuers safe. Our rescue team is spread out all across the province, and that allows us to transport animals from even the most remote locations back to our facility. We get lots of calls for common incidents like birds hitting windows and raccoons stuck in garbage bins. But as you can see, quite often the way we affect our world is far more complicated and probably unexpected. Once back at our facility, the volunteer rehabbers and the medical team works to triage an animal's injuries or its illnesses. Often surgery is required. Very often medication is required. We are open 24/7, 365 days a year. And our rehab volunteers, the rescue team, medical staff, all of the volunteers really are ready at a moment's notice anytime an animal is in need. The length of time rehab volunteers spending rehabilitating animals can vary a lot. Some animals just need a place to rest and recover, maybe a meal, and they can be released in a few hours. Other animals with complex injuries or illnesses, or baby animals, can stay with us for months or even much longer. For example, amazingly, orphaned baby beavers take almost 2 years to reach maturity before they can be released successfully back into the wild. That's a long-term investment, and these investments require food, medicine, health care, cleaning, maintenance, nursing, and just a lot of patience and love. All of them usually need as much isolation and peace and quiet as we can give them. But it's all worth it on release day. As soon as an animal is ready to go back to the wild, we pack its bags. Depending on the animal and its circumstances, it may actually have to go right back to the very ecosystem that it came from. There are few more rewarding experiences for rehabbers than watching an animal go home. So I have met thousands of people working in education, and the education team often gets asked where we get the motivation to volunteer. And usually the answer that I give is that I love animals and I want to help them. But often, on days like today, I get the opportunity to give a bit better of an answer. Modern science and medicine has revealed a lot about the human body. We understand a lot more about our brains, our biology, our psychology, and our social behaviors, most of them anyway. But we've really just started turning our high-power perception back onto the animal kingdom. And every year we learn more about their world, their lives, their intelligence, how they communicate, and the societies that they form. This is Ariel. She's a barred owl, the most common species of owl in Nova Scotia. She's mostly active at night, and the bar-like patterns that her feathers form help camouflage her during the day as she sleeps up against tree trunks. Ariel is a gentle creature. She only weighs about 500 grams. But don't let that fool you. Her feet are very strong, and they're capable of generating enough force to break the bones in my hand. She came to us in 2016 with a broken wing, probably from being hit by a car. We weren't able to save that wing, and she can no longer fly, and she can't go home. Over the past few years, I've gotten to know Ariel fairly well. She has a favorite spot to perch in her enclosure. She hates the rain and she hates being wet, but not as much as she hates not standing in her favorite spot. So when it rains, you'll often see her standing in that spot, totally wet and being extremely grumpy the entire time. She likes to be scratched on the left side of her head more than the right. She can tell me when she's happy and when she's tired and when she's frightened. She likes to be sung to, and if I sway back and forth as I'm singing, she will sway back and forth with me. Ariel has a personality, and she has a sense of independence. She has the capacity to be happy, she can be excited, entertained, and she can be angry, and she can be stubborn. She can also be sad, and she can be lonely, and she can get depressed. In the wild, Ariel would find a mate and stay with it for life. And if she loses that mate, she would grieve it. Like people, she can feel anxiety, and like people, she can feel fear. And also like people, she can feel pain, and she has the capacity to suffer. I believe that Ariel's life and the life of animals like Ariel has value. And I believe it is our responsibility to help alleviate their suffering whenever we can. That is what motivates me. And it's what motivates everyone at Hope for Wildlife, I think, a little bit. So I invite everybody to come out to Hope for Wildlife and meet Ariel and the other animal ambassadors that we have, like Frankie the Fox and Tilly the Talking Crow. Come and learn about the work that we do and get a closer look at the world around us that goes all too often unseen. Thank you.